I honestly didn't expect retirement to feel weird. I thought it would just feel peaceful. But the moment the pace of my life dropped overnight, the deadlines, the routines, the constant mental noise, I felt this strange in-between feeling I couldn't name. Not bad, not wrong, it was just unfamiliar. And if you've ever felt both peaceful and unsettled at the same time, you are not alone. Nobody really talks about this part of retirement. What surprised me most is that even though my life slowed down, my mind did not. When everything you built your identity around suddenly disappears overnight, your nervous system doesn't just flip a switch. I didn't realize that at first. I just knew something felt off. Everyone prepares you for the financial side of retirement, but no one prepares you for what happens to you when you're in it. And I didn't understand how much of who I thought I was had been shaped by my career. Not just the tasks, but the rhythm, the responsibility, the sense of being needed. When all of that fell away, I met a version of myself I didn't immediately recognize. The weirdness started quietly. Those first slow mornings were beautiful, but also disorienting. I could wake up at like 7 or 8, make coffee, sit down, and nothing was pulling at me. There was no urgency or next step. No sense of being behind before the day even got started. And you would think that that kind of freedom would feel amazing, but the truth is it honestly felt unfamiliar. My whole life had been structured around momentum, staying in motion and productivity, and now that motion was gone, but the habit of it stayed inside of me. My body had stopped, but my mind hadn't gotten the memo. And that's when I noticed something about myself I had never seen clearly before. Without the constant noise of work, I could finally hear how much of my identity had been wrapped up in productivity. Not because I loved being busy, but because that was the version of me the world rewarded. The capable one, the reliable one, the one who could juggle everything. And when I stepped out of that role, there was this sudden emptiness where my sense of self used to sit. I think that's why I started making myself busy in ways that didn't make sense. I'd walk through my Airbnbs touching things that didn't need to be touched and straightening things that were already straight. And I would tidy a rug that was like perfectly aligned, going from room to room like something was urgent, but it wasn't. And that's because it wasn't about productivity. It was about trying to feel like myself again. My old identity lived inside motion, and my brain kept trying to recreate that motion even when the external world no longer required it. And that moment, catching myself manufacturing busyness in my Airbnbs just to feel grounded, that's when it finally clicked. That retirement isn't just a lifestyle change. It's an identity shift. And it was one that I did not see coming. No one warns you that when the structure of your career disappears, your nervous system keeps running the old program. Your brain still scans for deadlines. Your body still waits for pressure. You expect the pace of your old life to snap back into place, even though you're the one who stepped away from it. It's unsettling because nothing is wrong, but nothing seems familiar either. The quiet also made my inner world louder. When you're working, your thoughts don't really need depth. They just need to be efficient. But when you have space, I started hearing questions I had never had time to hear before. Like, who am I when I'm not busy? What do I actually want my days to look like? And why does slowing down make me feel like I'm not fully in my own life yet? Those questions were really uncomfortable, but they were honest. And I think a lot of people feel this in early retirement or any phase of retirement. It's not that you miss your job, you miss the version of yourself you knew how to be. The one with structure, the one with expectations, the one with definition. But something softer started happening to me too. After that initial disorientation, there were moments where I felt myself settling. I'd be on a walk and notice my mind wasn't racing ahead anymore. Or I would sit with my coffee or tea and not feel guilty for enjoying it slowly. Or I would look at my calendar and see nothing written there, and instead of panicking, I would feel space, like actual space I never had before. And that's when the floating feeling started to shift. I wasn't outside my life anymore. I was easing back into it, and not through motion or urgency, but through presence, by choosing what actually mattered, by giving my attention only to things that felt aligned with who I was becoming, not the life I had been conditioned to perform. And what helped the most was realizing that slowing down didn't mean losing who I was. It meant meeting the parts of myself I had never made room for. The quieter part, the gentler part, the part that doesn't need to earn rest, the part that isn't defined by how many things that she can manage at once. Those parts had always been there. They were just buried under decades of momentum and productivity. And once I started giving them space, something unexpected happened. I stopped craving the old pace. I stopped searching for that familiar rush of urgency. I didn't want to fill every gap in the day anymore. I didn't need noise to feel real. I started enjoying the simplicity of a day that didn't demand anything from me. A day that was just mine. What finally grounded me was rebuilding structure in a completely different way. Not a schedule full of expectations, but a rhythm that supported who I was becoming. Creating this channel became part of that rhythm. Connecting with people in the comments, sharing experiences that so many of us go through but rarely talk about. It gave my days shape without owning them. It became the right kind of busy, the kind that makes life feel meaningful and not crowded. And that is when retirement stopped feeling weird. Not because everything made perfect sense, but because I realized that the unsettling feeling wasn't a sign that something was wrong. It was a sign that I was shedding an identity that no longer fit. It was the in-between space, the space between who I had been and who I was becoming. Of course, it felt strange, but every transformation does. If you're in that early phase of retirement or even thinking about it, just know that feeling unsteady doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Feeling peaceful and confused at the same time is completely normal. Feeling like you're floating is normal. And you're not losing yourself, you're just meeting the parts of you that were waiting for a slower life. And once the pace finally shifts, you have room to become someone you actually recognize. Thank you for spending this time with me. If any part of this helped put words to what you're feeling, I would love for you to subscribe and share your experience in the comments. It helps more than you know, and it means the world that you're here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.